Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning, and yes, we are here. It's Friday. A little technical difficulties, but we're back in action. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show. We're going to kick it off here with the Dean of Sports Talk in the North Central Florida area. That's Steve Russell from WRUF ESPN. Second portion, we're going to be joined by our folks from the Florida Rising Stars Project, talk about a little Coach Spurrier raffle they have going on. But first, let's head over to the Titan More Hotline, and we're joined by our good friend, Steve Russell. Good morning, Coach Russell. How are you?
Good to be with you, man.
Yep. We won't keep you long, Steve. I just wanted to touch base with you. I mean, we're getting closer to football. You and I will be doing a lot of pregame shows and post-game shows and all that stuff. Obviously, the Gators have had a scrimmage. I'm sure you've talked to some people. What has Steve Russell heard about this Gator football team?
Moving along, one thing that Mullen said, Shane, after the scrimmage really impressed me. That sometimes when you're in a scrimmage, if you're a defensive coordinator, hey, I'm going to send a guy on a blitz, just to make a play. Well, he said, that's not what we do. We scrimmaged because we wanted to install the offense and the defense that we had at that point. So they weren't trying to be cute. They weren't trying to do something. It was like, hey, this is what we have, and this is what you guys need to know. Are you good with it? And after that, then you put in some wrinkles to the offense and defense. So I really like that part of it. And then number two, I'm really anxious to see what they do with the running back, Shane. That room is loaded. And you know how it goes. I mean, last year, everybody was kumbaya, we understand, but they want the rock. You know that. There's only one football. So I'm anxious to see if they use two back sets, if they split it back out as a receiver. I'm anxious to see what they do with that.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. There's only one football to go around. There's at least six guys that have shown that they can play, well, we've seen some play. The two that haven't played are the two 5-stars right. That expect to play a lot. So I agree with you 100% there. Obviously, there's a lot of talk at the quarterback position. Dan has a great track record with that. I think we're going to go back and look at an offense similar to when Tebow, Prescott, Nick Fitzgerald played, where the defense has to account for the quarterback running. I believe that's going to allow, when pass plays are called, there are going to be guys open because the defense is going to be so scared of the quarterback run. I think both quarterbacks will play. I think this is Emory's team. But I think Anthony Richardson has come along. Your thoughts, do you think they play the two quarterback situation or stick with Emory and maybe Anthony Richardson gets like one or two series?
I guess the conventional wisdom, Shane, is that Jones and Richardson are sort of the same quarterback, sort of the same skill set. So if that's the case, why do you take one out and put the other in if the skill set is the same? So what can Anthony, let's assume Emory's the starter. What can Anthony bring that perhaps Emory can't? We saw him split out last year a couple of times. So look, Mullen's great at creating different things, but I do think this is Emory's team. And to me, you let him, especially early, because you have Alabama week 3. You can't be, experimenting too much with what you're doing. So get him a lot of reps the first 2 games, and then when Alabama rolls around, he's going to be ready.
Yeah, you just brought up something that I totally forgot about, that when Anthony Richardson did come in at times, he lined up at like wide receiver.
Yeah.
And he played a little, people may not know this, but as a 9th or 10th grader, he played a lot of receiver in high school because they had an older quarterback. So you could see that because he's athletic enough to do it, but it creeps into the defense's mind what's going on here. We have to be alert for trickery. So I totally forgot about that. John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. QB, there are a bunch of kickoff classics and jamborees being played today. Will you have high school coaches on like you did last year? yes, we'll have our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup on Thursdays, and we'll crank that up next week with the regular season starting next week. But yeah, there was our good friend Brady Ackerman, who's the new head coach at Bellevue. They played last night against Forest, who's a much bigger school, and they had a 14-all tie. So congratulations to the Rattlers. All right, Steve, defensively, obviously, I'm sure a million people, that's all they talk about on your show. Defense can't be any worse. I agree. Got a lot of transfers that are on that side of the ball. In the secondary, the two big dudes that are going to be starting at the inside from Penn State and Auburn, which I think those are the most important guys to me because I did not like our interior defense last year. Your thoughts? What are you hearing from Grantham, any of the other coaches, players? Is this defense going to be better?
It is going to be better. And Shane, I know last year you harped on this all the time about how the defensive line and the offensive line to some degree was pushed around because they weren't stout enough at the line of scrimmage. Well, I think those two transfers help immensely with that up front. So I think that's really good. And then, I'm not a big fan sometimes of playing a lot of people. And I think Grantham did that last year. And I think because some of those guys were younger, I think that was a detriment. I don't think he played the veteran guys enough. Now, that said, flip the page to this year. All those guys got experience last year, so they should be better. So the Diabates and, young guys like that got some reps, and I think they've got a real chance with Ventrell Miller now. I think this defense is going to be a lot better than people think.
Yeah, they did play a lot of people. I don't have a problem playing a lot of people, but put one here and one there. Don't do those wholesale changes. And that's when we, in my opinion, had guys not being able to get lined up because we had too many hockey line changes. And whether that was to keep everybody happy, get them experience, whatever, to heck with it this year. Let's put our best 11 out there, depending on the personnel that the offense throws at you. Obviously, you got to go to nickel and dime and those type things. But put your best 11 out there. If a guy gets tired, tap your helmet, then put his sub in. But the wholesale change is really bothering me. We got a question here from Dan on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Steve, he wants your opinion on the offensive line.
It was a little disconcerting to me when Mullen said he only had confidence in about 7 guys at this juncture. Now, Hevesy has always leaned on veteran guys. And look at the line this year. There's a lot of upperclassmen in that line. Reese came back, Ethan White's a junior, Garage, all those guys. They're veteran guys. You would think one more year experience in the system, getting used to playing with each other, that it'll be better. But for me, that's a wait and see. I just don't think Florida has had great offensive lines. They've been okay. But the other side of the coin, Shane, is if you're going to criticize the offensive line, look how many points Florida scored last year. That offense was prolific, and they gave Trask enough time to throw the football, and the running game was okay, so it can't be all that bad. So sometimes I think that group is a little bit more maligned than it should be, because if that group was so bad, that offense wouldn't have been as good.
You're exactly right. And speaking of prolific offense, obviously you lose your quarterback, you lose 2 first-rounders at the wide receiver position. There is no way, and it will never happen, have a guy like Kyle Pitts again in our lifetime. Kadarius Toney, we talked about it many times on your show. I thought he was the most improved player I think I've ever seen at one position since I've been watching college football. Can the Gators, I don't know if you can replace that type of talent, but they do have some talented young guys that maybe people aren't aware of. What do you see out of the receivers?
I think Shorter's going to have a big year. I just think, Shane, from a physical standpoint, he checks the boxes. Now, how good a route runner is he? And you know this, sometimes with bigger guys, Lee McGriff made a good point. He's always been a proponent of this. And watching the wide receivers now, I see what he says. If you're a bigger guy, and Kyle Pitts learned this, Shane, those DBs and safeties get under big guys, and they disrupt routes. Well, you got to get a little mean. You got to get a little nasty as a receiver. And Billy Gonzalez is great at this, to get that separation, to use your body, to not let those guys get underneath you and push you off a route. Pitts didn't do that early in his career. He was a beast Like nobody, very few did that to him last year. So if a guy like Shorter with his frame can do that, I think he's going to have a nice year.
Yeah. Turn your car, Chuck, into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. This August, mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. See, it's a few more minutes with Steve Russell from WRUF here on the Titan Moore Hotline. Here's the $1 million question that we just got from Clay on Facebook Live. Will the Gators beat Bama in the steamy swamp in September?
I'm going to hedge. I think Florida can beat them, and I'll tell you why. It's a lot of times when you play a team, it's when you play them. You're catching Alabama early with a lot of new guys and a lot of new coordinators and a lot of new coaches. So, when Charlie Strong was at Alabama, he told me this kid at quarterback is, in his words, the real deal. And he may end up being the real deal. But is he the real deal early? Do they mesh with the offense? With all those new players and all those new things, Florida's got a pretty veteran team if you look at the scope of things, and you get them here. So I think Florida's got a chance because they play them here and because they play them early. If they played them later in the year, I wouldn't like their chances as much, but I think they have a decent shot because of when they play.
Steve, as we sit today, which I think it's the 20th of August, and we may or may not have you on before the season kicks off. Who does Steve Russell have playing in Atlanta?
Georgia and Alabama is who I today would say. But look at Georgia. They've had some injuries. The Gilbert kid who was supposed, he's AWOL again. A lot of receivers are hurt. So that's what you don't know on August 20th. Who's going to be injured on November 20th. That we don't know that. But there's a reason why Georgia was favored in the East and Alabama in the West. I mean, they've got on paper, I think, the best talent. And I think the underrated team, Shane, is LSU. They have a lot of dudes now, but can the head coach, and can his coordinators who he let go, the new guys, they're going to get an offensive system like they had with Burrow. I don't know why the heck they got away from it last year, but they did. And Pelini was a disaster as a defensive coordinator. So I think they're undervalued. Going to be a tough team, especially for Florida to play up there. That won't be easy.
Well, I may be a moron, but I have the Aggies winning the SEC this year. I think they're loaded.
Is what, because it's a new guy.
Yeah, but I wasn't a big fan of the old guy.
Okay.
So the two guys that Jimbo, I saw highlights of them in the spring. I really liked them. And I think Jimbo does a phenomenal job with the quarterback position, but they have 8 starters back from the top defense in the league. They got the best tight end in the league. They probably have the best running back in the league, and they have the best overall player in the league in Anaya Smith, who is a Percy Harvin type player. So I don't know why. I just think A&M gets Alabama at home. I just think it's their year. If they're going to beat them, this is the year to beat them.
That's true. No question.
Yeah. So we'll see. Steve, I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk NFL before we let you go, but I want to go back. Judd Fabian is coming back as a Gator. You're a baseball guy. You announced the games. Do you like that move?
Love it. And he had all the negotiating position in that. Shane, sometimes fans don't understand that even college guys have pressure. And there was a ton of pressure on Judd Fabian because of his numbers and what he had done. Everybody anointed him, going to be a top pick in the draft. Well, he just did not have a great year. He had an okay year, but he didn't have a great year. And, the way that the draft works with the money and how you slot it and who can do what, he wanted some money. The Red Sox weren't going to offer it. And so he had the option to come back, and he did. And I think he's going to have a great year next year because the pressure, I think, will be off now. He gets to play with his brother who's coming here. And look, the Gators lost a lot off that team. A lot of those guys signed, and they had some first rounder picks signed. So they lost those guys. They're still going to be really good. Barco, I think, will be the Friday night guy. Brandon Sproat pitched in a league over the summer, Shane, that Sully was the pitching coach in, and Sully raved about what he had done. And, if he finds it, he can be a weekend guy. So Florida is going to be in good shape, and I think Fabian's going to have a terrific year.
That's good news. Good news. All right, let's switch to the NFL. Obviously, preseason games have cranked up. I think everybody in America knows that Steve Russell loves his New York Jets.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm not a big preseason guy, but I've watched a little bit here and there because there's so many young quarterbacks that came out of this draft. I've liked your guy, Zach Wilson, since he was a freshman at BYU. He's a natural at that position. I thought he played extremely well in week one. If you can play well in a preseason game, he's just a natural passer of the football, has just that knack. I think he's going to be damn good.
I do too, but I think the Jets have got to get him more help. Look, you know this. Quarterbacks are that position is the most important position in football, but you've got to have help. Mm-hmm. And the Jets just have, name a Jets wide receiver and a Pro Bowl guy in the last 5-10 years. I can't. They just have not had offenses that have been very good. So they got to surround him with more talent. But I love the coaching hire. There was Salah. I think the players like him a lot. And I think Wilson's going to have a good year. But I hope, again, because of New York media, they don't go crazy there. He just has to be solid. And they got to just let him develop and get more help around him. The guy I like, Shane, and the one I'm looking at is in New England. Last night,
I was getting ready to bring him up. Yeah, he needs to be their starter.
Yeah, because Newton and Jones both played well last night, but I love what Jones has done so far, and I think he deserves to be the starter.
Yeah, he does. You know, watching him, he just has that. When you watch him drop back, just even if you're not a Patriots fan, you have that feeling this dude's going to make a good decision. He's going to throw a completion somewhere. And he has been, I think he's played outstanding. I watched a lot last night because there was nothing else on TV. Right. And his command of the offense for a young guy, knowing where everybody is, he's got more velocity on the ball than I think most people thought from a, quote, NFL arm standpoint. But just his pocket presence, I think if New England wants to compete or not have a year like they had last year, this dude needs to be their starter. Clearly a head and shoulders above Cam Newton at this time. Cam is not a great thrower. I'll argue with anybody that wants to text or whatever. He never has been a great thrower. I know he's the MVP of the league, but that's back when he used to use his legs. He doesn't really do that. So I think in New England, Mac Jones needs to be their starter. So, I was going to bring him up. The other guy that looked pretty good the other day, and I think he's going to have his moments because, again, he's not a great thrower, but he's going to make so many plays with his legs, is Justin Fields in Chicago.
He's got to start now. He's got to start now. Isn't it funny, Shane, how things in sports, the pendulum changes? Many years ago, you didn't want to start a rookie quarterback. You wanted to bring him along slowly, learn the system. Well, now coaches understand if I don't win, I'm fired. I ain't waiting for that dude. I got to play him now if I want to win. And you've been in a lot of NFL locker rooms. Players know who can play. Players know who's good and who isn't. And I think those players know Justin Fields gives them a chance that the other quarterbacks don't. Now, is he as polished as Andy Dalton throwing the ball? No. But he does, as you said, Shane, he's dynamic. I think players will rally around him. He needs to start for the Bears.
We got a text here from George on the Titan MR hotline. He just wants your thoughts on Tebow getting cut.
Expected.
Yeah.
And if you watched the game, the other night, he wasn't a great blocker. The thing that the haters of Tim, though, really make me laugh because, Stephen A. Smith talked about it being white privilege.
Oh, geez.
Tim Tebow did what any of us would do. Shaner, if you wanted to get back in the league, you had so many contacts in the league, you'd be an idiot, a fool, if you didn't call somebody up and say, hey, use your contacts. That's what Tebow did because he played for Urban Meyer. So what was the harm of him trying to do it? And in the end, he didn't make it. His football skill at tight end said he's not good enough to play. So what's the harm?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Pretty much everything you do in life is about relationships, who you know.
Sure.
And I had no problem. I didn't think he had a chance of making it because of his age and knowing what it takes to play in that league. trying a new position, it didn't make a whole lot of sense because, I know a lot of Gator fans would look at his body. Well, everybody walking in that damn locker room, except maybe myself, looks like that. They're big, strong, and all chiseled up. So, yeah, Tim will go on and do wonderful things like he normally does. But it looks like, his athletic career has come to an end. He's 34. It's a young man's game.
And I hope now he's done. He gave baseball a shot. And again, a lot of people didn't like that either. He gave the NFL one more try. Okay, you're 34, young man's game. Work your stuff, do what you do, go from there.
Yeah. Before we let you go, Steve, have classes started back? Are they in person? How are they doing it this fall?
Classes start Monday, and at this point, they're in person. But I'm sure, Shane, you've had a lot of questions, as I have, from fans about what's going to happen here in the swamp in a few days. And I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that. I just don't, because we don't know, and this is way past my pay grade, but we don't know what the variant's going to do. We don't know if they're going to require vaccinations. We don't know any of that, but they're going to have to do something soon because the season is almost upon us here. So I think this is going to come down to they're going to wait till the last minute to make some kind of announcement for fans.
Well, Steve, we appreciate you taking the time to join our program. Doing sports scene? You're
23.
Wow.
Old.
You're 23.
Old, man.
You do a tremendous job. I know a ton of people around the country and around the world watch and listen on a daily basis. We appreciate you joining our program, man.
All right, Shannon, we'll talk to you, buddy. Thank you.
Yep, that's Steve Russell from ESPN WRUF joining our program on the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to take our first time out. Come back, we'll be joined by our good friends at the Florida Rising Stars Project, talking about a raffle they have going on with some guy named Steve Spurrier. You're watching and listening. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmett Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They are getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmett. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shops, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, International Diamond Center, and the HBC's new restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's the hottest restaurant in town. We will see you Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank Steve Russell from ESPN WRUF joining us on the Titan No More Hotline. We're now going to go back to the Titan No More Hotline, and we're going to be joined by our good friends from the Florida Rising Stars Project, Wayne Hogan and Jan Richard. How are y'all doing?
Doing great, Shane.
Morning, Shane. How are you?
Yeah, we want to bring you guys on. I know y'all have been working really, really hard. I know the camp that was supposed to be here, and gosh, I can't remember when it was. Got postponed. I think it was during that one little hurricane that came through. Talk a little bit about that. Has it been rescheduled?
Well, appreciate you asking. We did get affected by the hurricane, which was really, I think, more of a tropical storm. But the problem was it dumped so much rain on the Gainesville area. We got a call about 3 days before the camp from Oak Hall, from Jeff Malloy, our good friend at Oak Hall, who's been working with us with the camp, and he informed us that the fields were just unusable. They were unplayable from all the water. So we chose the better part of valor, and we decided to postpone until we had a better opportunity. But as it turns out, Shane, it's a pretty good segue to what one of the things we wanted to discuss this morning, if I might get into that. Mm-hmm. In the interim, since that cancellation or postponement took place, we've kind of had a bit of a turn in how we are marketing these what we're calling academies, camp. You might say the word camp or academy, and that is we're now working, since we're now into the fall, which we weren't before. We were working over the summer as we got back into our high schools, getting back into session. We had a number of conversations with the high school football coaches, high school athletic directors, principals, that expressed an interest in us coming to the schools and doing our academy with our expert instructors and mentors for a large group of student athletes and other students who are interested in sport, careers outside of sport, or careers off the field in sports. So we have really ramped that up. That's going to be our next big thing. We've now entered into some conversations. We're going to work a date out with Oak Hall, where we'll go there, which we already went down the road with that. We don't have the date yet. We're working with Gainesville High School. We're working with Buholtz. We're working with Eastside. And all of these programs are looking at what's a suitable date for us to come in. Makes it a lot easier, Shane. We don't have to go out and worry about how do we get transportation, how do we bring kids from all over the community. We actually take our team into the schools, and we during a 4-hour block, either on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, or a weeknight, whatever it might be. It's whatever the coaches feel like is the best time to do it. And we have a receptive audience, because these high school kids that are playing sports obviously are the ones that have a keen interest in sports. They all think they're going to play in the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. But we all know that somewhere along the line, most of them are not going to do that. So they're going to look back and say, hey, there's a lot of ways I can get involved in sports careers that are off the field. And so we're really excited about it. It's a whole new venue for us. The change really was, instead of picking a site and getting everyone to come to us in a central location, we actually take our program directly to the high school campuses, and it's been hugely well received.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous idea, actually. And so my question is, you mentioned a lot of the Gainesville schools. We have people that watch this show all over the state of Florida, other places. If their school, say in, Southwest Florida, or up in the Jacksonville area, or in the Panhandle, if any of them want to have you guys come to their school, how do they go about contacting y'all?
Well, it's fairly easy through our website. We have all of our phone numbers and such, and the website is easy, FloridaRisingStars.com. FloridaRisingStars.com. You can go on there and find Jan and find myself. And we're interested in talking to coaches and athletic directors. And I mentioned the Gainesville schools just because I always associate that big Gator Country sign that sits behind you as being Gainesville oriented. But I do realize that now that the internet has entered our world, people are watching us all over the state. But we already have conversations started in New Smyrna Beach, for example, with Coach John Wilkinson over there about coming to that school. We have a school down in the Tampa St. Pete area that we're familiar with, Jan and I, at Seminole High School. We have a number of contacts in Tallahassee where we're going to go and take this program up there. So that's true. And anyone who wants to reach out to us, that would be fantastic, because that's what we're trying to do, is get word of mouth out there that we'll do this. We will come to your school. And by the way, Shane, no cost to the school, no cost to the students. We're completely funded by donors and corporate partners. And so we offer this program to these kids. This is just a professional development type thing that schools can offer to their students. And it's been, like I said, well received.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Wayne Hogan and Jan Richard from Florida Rising Stars Project. Okay, y'all have something going on now with the guy that most people know about, the head ball coach, a little raffle to win some autographed items from the HBC. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, we're doing a raffle that includes signed memorabilia from Coach Spurrier, a signed helmet, a signed football, and a signed book. And we have recently added 2 tickets to the homecoming game against Vanderbilt with a 2-night stay at Comfort Inn and Suites. Basically, the way it's set up is you can go to our website, or we have a lot of people pushing this out on social media. But basically, the way it works is for every $10 you donate, you get a chance to win this package. And it began Monday of this week, and it's running until the 19th of September, which is the day we will draw. We just completed one back in late June and July, a similar package for Bobby Bowden. And that went very, very well. The guy that won it, I think his pictures are on our website. He was blown away. I mean, it's for as little as $10, and we're hoping that people might consider, more than that. But for as little as $10, you can win that package, which I don't know what the value of something like that would be. I don't totally understand that, but I'm guessing it's substantial. And so that's kind of what we're talking about right now, to go along with what Wayne just described. And we urge everybody to get involved.
When are y'all going to draw the name out of the hat?
September 19th.
September 19th and then y'all will just let the people know whoever won. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Wayne, we'll talk a little bit more about the Coach Spur thing, but Wayne, I want to touch base with you real quick. I know you worked at Florida State for a long time, SID with Coach Bobby Bowden, and we lost Coach a couple of weeks ago. Just tell us a good Bobby Bowden story while we got you on here.
Well, there's so many, and I appreciate you bringing it up. Coach and I were very close, as you might suspect. I handled all of his media relations for about 20 years back in the 80s and into the 90s. And we got to be very close. In fact, a lot of people didn't know this, but Bobby Bowden had a run through Tallahassee as an assistant coach long before he came in 1976 as the head coach. This is back in the 60s. He came in as a wide receivers coach under Bill Peterson. And this was in 1963-64 range. And as it turns out, he lived. I was growing up in Tallahassee at that time. I'm from Tallahassee. So as it turns out, our houses were catty-cornered from each other. So I lived near the Bowden family, or almost next to the Bowden family, for several years in the early 60s. Now, that would have made me in first grade, 6, 7, 8 years old, okay? So Terry Bowden obviously was one of the four Bowden sons. Terry and I were the same age, so we played a lot of ball together. We played Little League ball and Cub League and all of those things, and we palled around together. Tommy was a couple of years older, so it was his responsibility to make our lives miserable. And one of the things that I tell people is the first time I ever met Bobby Bowden, I was 6 years old, and we were over at a sleepover at the Bowden house, which was always an adventure. And at 11 o'clock at night, I see Coach Bowden, who then was a very young Coach Bowden, heading out the front door of the house. And I said, Terry, where's your dad going at this hour of the night? Who goes out at 11 o'clock at night? He said he has to do that every night because he's in charge of checking, doing the bed check at the football player's dorm. So that was, he was the lowest assistant coach on the rung when I met him. And then all those years later, we came back around. I would like to tell you one little quick story about his kind of love affair with the media. He really was one of the only coaches I've ever known. And I worked in that business for 35 years. Never seen anyone else that actually understood that the media could be your friend. They could help you. They could help you build your program. They could help you tell your story. He had just an absolutely wide open program. You could come in, reporters, writers used to come in, and they could get any story they wanted because the players were available. Bobby Bowden himself was available. And he understood that kind of attention on the program was gonna pay dividends. And in addition to winning games, nobody knew anything about Florida State back in those days. They didn't know Tallahassee. Tallahassee's hard to get to. But reporters from all over the country would come in, and they would do their, they knew they would get a good story when they left the program. So I think he did that in a great way. I would tell you this though, the one day that stands out in my mind is when Malcolm Moran was the sports editor for the New York Times. And Malcolm was a highly read sports writer and very powerful back in that day. Called us up. He wanted to come down and do the definitive Bobby Bowden story. Like, who is this guy? Who is this Bobby Bowden guy? This was very early when we were just beginning to win, and Bobby was getting some attention on television. So Malcolm flies into Tallahassee in August. He gets to the office, and he's wearing a typical right out of New York City, the dark suit, dark tie. He's sweating like a pig because it's 110 degrees in Tallahassee in August, right? But he's dressed to the nines. So I take him up to Coach Bowden's office, and Miss Sue Hall was Coach Bowden's gatekeeper. And she said, yeah, sure, coach is ready for you guys. Go on in. So we go into the office, and what we see is Bobby Bowden sitting behind his desk with his feet up on the desk, barefooted. His bare feet are up on the desk. He's chewing on a cigar. He never lit those things, but he always chewed on them. He had a towel wrapped around his neck. And the lady, there's a lady named Pam Eves from our equipment room. She handled she was one of the equipment people. She would come up once a week and cut Coach's hair. So she's snipping her way on the back of his hair. He's barefooted. He's got a towel around him. And it's the most unbelievable scene. And so Moran walks in and he looks at me and, he goes, is this it? This is it. So Bobby says, hey, sit down, Malcolm, how you doing? And he always had a habit. Bobby would always go, did you fly or drive here? He always asked that. I never knew why. Did you fly or drive here? He goes, oh, coach, I flew. Well, how was your flight? Yeah, I hope it was good. Malcolm sits down. He stays about 2 hours with the coach. He spent a lot of time together. He comes back down to my office and he says, okay, you got to come clean with me. That whole thing was a setup, right? That's not real. You did that just for me. And I go, Malcolm, I wish I could tell you I did, but that's the guy you're going to get every day of the week. So people started to learn that. He's the real deal. He's just the real deal.
Yeah, that's good stuff there. We got a couple of questions here. Back to you guys taking your services to the high schools. Obviously, it's all sports related. in the future for these high school kids. But Rick asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, are y'all going to have local newspaper sports photographers because schools have so many students taking pictures at games on Friday nights?
Sure. I'm assuming he means that we're going to have someone photograph the.
Well, not so much that. I guess have someone, I guess that does it for a living, come and speak to the kids about, hey, this is something that you can do on down the road as well.
That's a great thought. We do not have that piece of in our program right now. We have a leg that covers sports broadcasting. So in that, we'll talk about video. We'll talk about being behind the camera, in front of the camera. Mostly what we've talked about so far is live video as opposed to still photography. I do know still photography, sports photography is a big deal. I think you've given us something to think about, or your friend there on Facebook. Yeah. I think he's given us something to think about as a possible offshoot. Yes.
Yeah. Because they're always students that's what they do on Friday nights. So that might be something be good to add to y'all's program. All right. Before we let you guys go, let everybody know once again what they can do, whether it's $10, $1,000, whatever, to get into this raffle for the HBC.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, it's just, you can go to the website. We have it posted on all of our social media. We have a Facebook, an Instagram, and a Twitter account that we're pushing it out on. But primarily, I think the easiest thing to do is to go to our website and click on the Donate Now button, which will pop right up in front of you. It'll pop up Steve Spurrier raffle, has a picture of the items. And as I say, we have not added, we just literally, I just got back from Gainesville last night. We just literally added those 2 tickets and the 2-night stay for Friday and Saturday night on homecoming weekend against Vanderbilt. And I think we've got another surprise coming that we're going to let people know next week, but we have to confirm it. That's the easiest way to do it. Just click on the Donate Now. It'll pop right in front of you, and you just, it takes you right to our GoFundMe account, and just donate what you can, and hopefully somebody will be very happy with the result.
And Shane, just remember, if I might add, these donations are going into our program to allow us to travel to these schools, to take our instructors and have them on site. And our goal, and it will always be this way, is we're going to do this at no cost. We do not want the students to have to bear a cost, and we don't want the high schools to bear a cost. So every donation goes right into the ability for us to offer this program to all these young kids.
Good stuff, guys. Appreciate y'all taking the time to join the program. And we look forward, and hopefully a lot of people will log in and donate to the HBC raffle. And we'll see how it comes out here in September. Y'all take care.
You got it.
And thank you very much once again.
Yep, that's Wayne and Jan from Florida Rising Stars Project. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take our final time out of the program, come back, wrap up this Friday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp is now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Give Comfort Temp a call. That's 352-376-2366. This day in sports. In 2008, Usain Bolt of Jamaica wraps up the 100 and the 200 meter double in style with a new 200-meter world record at 19.3 at the Beijing Olympics. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Every time I think of Usain Bolt, I think of Coach Spurrier when he was Mr. Two Bits. He did the old Usain Bolt deal. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to Steve Russell, who's the Dean of Sports Talk in this area. Also, we appreciate Jan and Wayne from the Florida Rising Stars Project letting us know what's going on with them. Next week, we'll have a good lineup of guest folks. Make sure you tell all your friends and family to continue to follow and like our programs, mostly follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Facebook Live, all that good stuff. Real quick before we let you go, Center State Bank is now South State Bank. They still put business first. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Last thing for you. I'm trying to put the years together. Did you ever have any run-ins with the head ball coach, Coach Spurrier?
I did. So Spurrier's last year was my freshman year at Florida. And I worked in the football office, just part-time. And it's funny, my name is Jessica, but my nickname is Jess. Nobody in my entire life has ever called me Jessie. I'm so not a Jessie. I'm a Jess if you're going to abbreviate my name. But the one person who is allowed to call me Jessie is Steve Spurrier, because he adds an IE to everybody's name. So every time I'd see him in the football office, he'd be like, "Hey, Jesse. Hey, Jesse, how you doing? How you doing?" So Steve Spurrier, Ichiro used to call me Jesse when he was playing for the Marlins. So Steve Spurrier and Ichiro are the 2 people in my life who get a pass calling me Jesse.
That's great.